Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Get Talent Podcast. I'm joined by Jillian Guzda, my co host, and a very special guest today, Mr. Sean Barnes, CEO of Wolf Executives. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
So good, man. I'm really looking forward to us chopping it up today.
I am too. And, we always got to thank Jasani too, because he's like here in
Yes.
spirit, right? He's just connecting us all the time to great people like you. And can't wait to talk to you today.
Yeah.
Same here. Well,
Jill, you want to lead us off here? Well, before we get in, let's ask. I'm just going to ask Sean. Sean, can you tell us a little bit about Wolf Executives and what you
yes.
do?
Oh, got some audio issues here. Hang on just a second.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, good. All right.
Guys, get in the comments as well if you got questions for Sean. Sean, go ahead.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I started Wolf Executives a few years ago. I've got a little bit of an interesting career trajectory starting in IT and then going into HR. But what we do today is primarily executive coaching, leadership development. I do some strategic advisory stuff and hosting our own executive events. Those are the big areas that we like to focus on now. It's truly just about providing value and leveling up executives so that they can lead better, high-performing teams.
Yeah, I really love that. And one of the things that kind of came out when Jillian and I were talking to you is like this thought of the introvert and how does the introvert articulate their value in an organization? And I think the work you do around that is just really impactful.
Yeah, it's been, oh man, it was such a challenging journey for me. I spent the majority of my life as an introvert, just head down, buried in my keyboard, working on data centers and networks and things like that. And I was able to achieve decent levels of success in my professional career, but I reached a ceiling. There's a threshold. There's only so far that you can get as the introvert, just banging away,
What,
getting work
yeah, what
done.
creates that ceiling?
Well, it's self-inflicted, quite frankly,
Hmm.
because we operate with this mindset of all of the things that are helping me progress from the IT engineer to the IT manager to maybe even the director level. Once you start getting director, VP, C level, you have to start developing new skills.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
realize that's kind of a no-duh statement, but the type of skills that you have to develop are very different. They're all around presence and communication and articulating the value that you bring. It's no longer about just plowing through a project and checking things off on the list.
This is so true because when I talk to high performers, they think that their work speaks for itself, that they just have to become the biggest subject matter expert at the company and everyone will see it and reward them and recognize them and they don't understand that they are also having to work on these people skills or else nobody will care.
Yeah.
And the work does speak for itself, but it also creates this dynamic where you just become known as the data center guy,
Mhm.
the fixer, the operator. And so you create this ceiling for yourself. It's not intended, but you create this ceiling because you have this mindset of if I work hard, if I fix everything, everybody will recognize it and then they will promote me. What actually happens is they think you are phenomenal at this thing. Just keep doing this thing.
Yeah, you get stuck, huh? What do
Yeah,
you think,
that's
Jill?
it.
No, yeah, no, I agree.
Mm.
I'm just also gonna put this out there right now. We have a little audio thing. If I get tripped up over my words, it's because of that.
You
I'm
sound
listening
amazing.
to myself and I keep hesitating. So apologies just right off the bat.
And shout out to Mary Norwood in the comments there. Super excited about this. Good to see you, Mary. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know who you are, where you are, and check in with us. Daisy checking in. So good to hear from you, Sean. Hello from Glomo HQ.
But one thing I did want to know is it kind of sounds like it's a limiting belief. We talk about limiting beliefs a lot in
Yeah.
the office and saying like, I don't know how to do that or I can't do that. Like, no, you absolutely can. And by saying you're an introvert, you're basically doing the same thing, putting those ceilings on yourself because now you're limiting what you think you're capable of doing too.
Have you experienced with that, or like, do you feel like you've done that in your own life?
Oh, absolutely. I told myself I'm just an introvert. I'm not good at talking to people. I don't want to go to an event. I get so anxious and the amount of anxiety that I experience, it's just awkward. I'm just going to hang out here and do my work. And then
Yeah.
once again, it will speak for itself. But it it's really just comes down to habits. Because if you think about how we are perceived and how we operate, it's just the habits that we have built. And through my life, all of my habits were around burying my head into my keyboard and getting things done.
Mhm.
Every time we start something new, we suck at it. I mean, that's the reality of the world. And so
Right.
every
Yeah.
time I would try to go to an event, I felt so uncomfortable and I would revert back into my shell and just tell myself this story of, well, I'm just not good at that. And I had a mentor of mine many years ago that said, Sean, if you want to continue, if you want to grow beyond the manager and director level, you are going to have to learn how to work a room, how to go to a conference, how to walk into a boardroom and confidently sit down and articulate your value.
How
And
did
so
you
with
feel
that,
the first time you heard that feedback?
the first time I heard it, I was like, no, my work will speak for itself.
Right.
And then 6 months go by and no progress had been made. And I just sat with it and sat with it. And I was like, well, I mean, he is a CEO now. Maybe I should listen to some of the stuff that he's saying. And
Mhm.
so I started to explore and step out into those uncomfortable areas. And I was horrible at it. I was fumbling my words. I was a mess. But then I just kept going and going and going. And an interesting thing started to occur. The more reps I got in, the better I got at it. And
Yeah.
then it turned into this snowball effect where I started getting better. I started building my confidence. And then all of a sudden, Sean's a captivating speaker. He can walk into any room. But it came from years of putting myself out there and getting uncomfortable and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Do you still label yourself an introvert or has that changed for you?
That's a great question.
I would say I'm more of an ambivert. Most of my
Okay.
time is spent on stages. I do a lot of keynotes and chair conferences, which I love. But I will also say that once the event is over, I need me time.
Yeah.
Nobody talk to me.
You
I
gotta
don't want my phone
recharge.
ringing. I have to recharge because I do believe at my core, I've spent almost 4 decades of my life that way. And while I can flex out, I've realized that it's almost like building a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the easier it is for you to sustain those extroverted behaviors and tendencies. But eventually, you have to reset. At least that's how it's been for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really interesting. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know what you think out there. What are your thoughts there? Kyle saying, I believe limiting beliefs are rooted in I can't or I'll never be.
Yeah. 100%.
Let us know how you've
Well, this
dealt with that,
this
Kyle. Go ahead,
that
Sean.
goes right back to the stories that we tell ourselves, and it becomes self-reinforcing. When you use that type of language, of course, you're going to think that I can never break through. Instead, a subtle little shift of I can't yet. That is extremely powerful. And if you are intrinsically driven and motivated to do big things, that extra little word makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And it almost lights a fire inside of you.
Yeah.
I can't yet, but I can.
Yeah. The limiter turns into like a challenge. Like
Yeah.
the yet is like, okay, well, let me
Mhm.
yet this real quick. I love the yet.
I've always been like that.
Are you a
You-
yetter?
Well, yeah. I only learned the trumpet in 5th grade because my brother told me you can't do that. You don't have the lung capacity to play the trumpet. And I was like, I had zero desire to play the trumpet, but I was like, well, now I have to.
This is how I lead Jill. I just tell her she can't do things. And then she like proves me wrong. That's how I do it. No, you said something, Sean. I want to ask you about this because this really sat with me. You mentioned like working behind a keyboard, being a limiter. How is that? I feel like we all fall into that. Like as an extrovert, I've definitely even been in that mode where you're just like hammering through emails and sending stuff out, and you're like, but you're not really connecting.
You know, this is such an interesting thought because before social media exploded on the internet, hiding behind your keyboard meant just plowing through the work. Now, one could argue that you can have a pretty massive presence online doing everything from behind your keyboard. And then now, whenever we start looking at how AI is evolving, people can have AI generated versions of themselves, and you can hide behind the keyboard, but it does create a ceiling in that opportunities come from exposure. And the more exposure you get to more people, the more opportunities you're going to have. And so, yes, you can achieve levels of success, whatever success looks like to you. But if you want more opportunities, if you want to be able to ascend in your organization or build a business of your own, you are going to have to be able to get comfortable having face-to-face conversations and developing human skills and people skills. And you can't really do that hiding behind your keyboard or your cell phone.
This feels so timely though right now, especially when you have, more of the workforce working from home than ever. You have a new generation into the workforce that maybe doesn't know this yet, right? I had my own though. I mean, I'm a millennial, but I had my own kind of aha moment with this. Was I'm in my early to mid 20s, and I was leading a team of 20 people, let's say, an inside sales team in a call center. And we get all these KPIs and all these reports, and I'm firing them out to the team and saying, hey, we need to get our conversion rate up, or we need to get our average handle time down, and I'm like managing through email. And I noticed my team just like shut me off. They shut me out, and I lost like my relationships, my credibility, my trust kind of start to dwindle. And then you start managing out of a place of like fear and like forcing people to do stuff instead of getting face to face and getting them excited and inspiring them to do things.
I see this a lot in the corporate world. And the example that I'm going to cite will probably resonate with you and a lot of the listeners. When executives operate out of the ivory tower, they're running the business from spreadsheets and PowerPoints and slide decks and board meetings. They eventually start to lose sight of what's actually going on in the business. They think they understand what's going on in the business. But if you are to go travel to all of the different locations or districts and have face-to-face conversations with people, you will see a very different story. And it is so unfortunate at how many senior leadership teams just hang out in the ivory tower, lose sight of what's actually going on in the business because they're not having these face-to-face conversations. And there's just this erosion of performance in the business. And then they're scrambling at the corporate office trying to figure it out. They're blasting emails, they're making phone calls, when a simple trip to a location will yield far greater results in terms of understanding what the actual issues and challenges are. And you build a tremendous amount of trust and respect in the process.
Oh, absolutely. It's basically like out of sight, out of mind. Mm-hmm. And if you're spending that face-to-face time with each other, your employees are also probably going to tell you more about their struggles because simply they don't want to put it in writing, maybe.
Yeah.
Now they can have honest communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when it's easier to relate to people. And what'll happen when you're stuck in, I like the ivory tower, right? When we're stuck in the ivory tower or mahogany row or in the executive suite, whatever, it's easy to say like, oh, they don't work hard, or they're not getting it, or they're not, doing X, right? And kind of demonizing the production level folks. And I think that is a massive critical error. Right. Because a lot of times there's underlying issues or process issues or lack of understanding of customers, or there's a whole lot of other things that could be happening besides people just aren't working hard. And I think when you like belly up to the desk or the cube or the whatever it is, and you sit with people, you start to understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Sean, I'm curious, since you've learned a lot, especially I feel like introverts in the workplace, they have a lot to work through if you're trying to reach a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
We've already talked about the ceiling. It's very difficult for people. What specifically did you have to unlearn? Like maybe it was a habit or something that you thought was a skill, but then learned later on it was actually hindering you in order to become a leader.
Because I spent so much of my life analyzing, it was all black and white, logic, data, process. That's just how my mind worked. And I would sit, office light off, door closed, just processing away. And in my mid 30s, I had become the vice president of IT for an oil and gas company, still the introvert. And I was seeking a challenge. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I promise I'm going to pull it back for you. And I was seeking a challenge and trying to figure out what did that look like. And ultimately that challenge came in the form of also starting to lead human resources. Well, when you are an introvert and you step in and start leading a team of about 20 bubbly, extroverted HR professionals, you quickly realize your shortcomings in that they're not going to connect with you in the way that other IT people are. I had to figure out how to better understand all of the people on my team and get them to understand me. And this was my first experience with behavioral assessments like DISC and Berkman and things like that. We started off with DISC, and it was a way for me to apply logic and data to all of these different people on my team to better understand them and better understand myself. And for the introverts that are very focused on data and analytics that are watching this will probably resonate with you. But I found a way to be able to view people as data sets. Okay, I know Jason is a D. He's very dominant, controlling, direct. I also know he was in the military. I know he's got a wife and 2 kids, and they play soccer. And so these were all data points for Jason. And it allowed me to better connect with him and realize that Jason is very direct, and I need to communicate with him in a direct manner. And then we have Sally, who is a little bit more soft-spoken and reserved and quiet. I can't have a conversation with Sally and brute force that dialogue. I have to come in a little bit more calm and collected and curious. And so it gave me a tool to be able to understand how to connect with other people on the team.
How do you keep all those like personalities and like data points in your head that like Sally's a C, Bobby's a D, like that's a lot.
It was a lot. And I think this is where we'll say introverts, when they start to explore how to use this type of data and information, it can almost be a superpower because they've spent their entire life analyzing, processing, and thinking through things in this way. And when they apply it to, hey, this is a framework, this is a way for me to better understand people, as opposed to, God, why is Jason an ass all the time? Why? Like, no, it's just, this is how he communicates. Now, you can taper that some, but for an introvert, going into how do I connect with extroverts and others that are bubbly and outgoing, at least for me in my experience, that was the big unlock that helped me the most. Now, I haven't had many conversations with extroverts and said, hey, you need to start understanding this, this, and this. They get it, but they're not exactly wired to pay attention to detail and have a matrix of who falls in where and all of that stuff.
This is my struggle. Right? I'm like, that sounds like a lot. I just go and like read the room. Like, what's the problem?
Exactly.
No, that's awesome though. I love the fact that like analytical, introverted, and maybe I'm conflating those two things, but just using your description of yourself, this is something that they can use to interpret people when maybe it's not as intuitive for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, your story made me think of a story in my earlier career where I'm an extrovert, if we're using these labels. I'm an extrovert, not super detail oriented, but because I was managing large sales teams and very metric driven, the organization like pounded it into my skull. I had to be like it. And so over 10 years of that, I became that because that's what I thought I needed to be successful. And then when I went to work for a privately held smaller company, I remember one time asking the CEO, I said, you know, you got any feedback for me? And she's like, let me think about that. And then right before I left her office, she said, actually, yeah, I do. She said, I want you to be less in the numbers. And that blew me away. I'm like, that was like up there when like I learned I could hug people. It just like totally shattered my whole frame of like what I thought I was supposed to be. And because I'd worked really hard to be in the numbers. I didn't like being in the numbers, but I worked really hard. And she's like, I want you to be less than the numbers. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And can you give me 3 specific examples with quantifiable results? No. And she's like, no, I've been running this business for 45 years. I can walk the halls and I know if we're profitable.
Yeah.
And she could just hear by the buzz in the sales floor or the stack of papers on the billing person's desk or the way salespeople averted their eyes because they weren't having a good month. She knew in her bones how we were doing. It was kind of interesting.
It's funny how we can have those moments with a boss or senior leader that just stick with us for the rest of our life. I had a conversation years ago where I was told by a C-level executive, I need you to care less.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, for context, the scope of my role had expanded a lot over the years. I was leading all the corporate functions beyond IT and HR. It was every corporate function. There were some challenges within the operations side of the business. And I was doing my best to be able to help them solve their problems, but they weren't having it. Ego or whatever the reason was, they thought they could do it better. Fine. But I kept on trying to help, trying to solve the problem. And because I was trying so hard to help, it started upsetting those in operations, which was creating tension, which they didn't want to deal with. Said, I need you to care less. Those are not your responsibility. I know it's burning right now. You have to let it burn. It's like, wow, that is crazy. Because at some point, you have to let things burn to the ground before they can actually get better. It's frustrating, it's confusing and demoralizing at times, but at that point, I just had to, pull back, focus on my team, focus on getting the things done that we needed to get done, and just, sit back. But it's crazy how certain comments like that can stick with us for life.
Yeah, that is crazy. Hit that like button, y'all. Get in the comments here. I want to know what you're thinking about what Sean's talking about. And I love this conversation and the way it's kind of just bouncing around here and we're telling stories here. I can't wait for Jill to tell stories about her horrible first career experience. Get in the comments, y'all. Kyle said there's power in being brutally honest with yourself about where you currently are and taking the steps to grow. Kyle appreciates Jillian's question. Caroline says, I'm an extrovert that remembers the personal things. It is very helpful when you know these details because it can tell you the why they are looking for a new role, why they would not accept a new role, et cetera, from a recruiter perspective. Totally. I want to ask you, Sean, because this is the Get Talent podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about talent acquisition and everything. How should we be gauging introverts on interviews? We tend to gravitate towards the people and we're like, oh, wow, they really interview well. And, we clicked. But is there ways that we should maybe be evaluating talent so that we're not so biased?
Absolutely. And this is a trap that a lot of managers and hiring managers fall into. Oh, we hit it off. We did great. And this goes on both ends of the spectrum. If you have people that are extroverted and outgoing, they want to bring in someone else that's extroverted and outgoing because they can connect with them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the technologists and systems engineers that they just want to see who's the smartest engineer in the room, and they talk about technology and things like that. Okay, great. But what happens as teams grow and scale, you miss out on diversity of thought. When you have this grouping of extroverts that aren't really strong at attention to detail, and that continues to grow and grow, what do you think is going to happen over time? You're going to lose sight of all the details, which is absolutely crucial.
Right.
And the same thing with the engineers. If it's only detail and nobody's able to evangelize the projects and talk through all the great things that they're doing, all of a sudden it starts to erode, and you've got a whole bunch of just tech folks that can't communicate all that well. So when we're interviewing, we have to be intentional about creating an environment where we have diversity of thought and we pull people in that we might not immediately connect with, but we have to take a step back and say, what does the team and business actually need? Do we need more engineers, or do we need somebody that's going to balance us out and be able to communicate all the great things that we're doing?
I think that's fantastic. And I've seen that in organizations, right, where all the tech folks just kind of get together and they start building and building and building. And they build great tech. Maybe they over-engineer it. Maybe it's not really what the customer needs or the business needs, because they weren't talking to anybody. They're just building great tech. Mm-hmm. And I've also seen a room full of visionary, charismatic leader types who don't get anything done.
Yeah.
Jill's laughing.
Well, because that's you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jill.
Well, you say it
Captain
too.
Obvious over here. Appreciate you.
You know it's you.
I know it's me. I opened the door.
You did.
Appreciate you walking through it.
But I think that's important as we look through the interview process, making sure that you have a little bit of variety in terms of who's interviewing these candidates coming in. And then also making sure that we're not strictly looking at the job description and function, and starting to think about team dynamics and how they can best interact with one another and the team. But beyond that, can this person that we're bringing into the engineering team also communicate with and connect with the people in operations so that they can kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah. No, I mean, we have multiple interviews in an interview process anyways. So the smartest way to go about it is to have different personality types as the interviewers. So that way you have different eyes looking at this candidate.
You're so right. And what do we most often do is we most often make them, try to beat each level like a boss fight. And they're like, first you're going to go to the supervisor, then the manager, then the director. And if you're lucky, the VP. And the last one's always lunch with the CEO. And it's like boss fight our way up through Mike Tyson's Punch Out or something, when really it should probably be more of a matrix, like different personalities and stakeholders and job functions possibly. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, me neither. But
yeah, I always tried to bring in people from teams like outside of my scope of responsibilities. Bring in someone from operations, like, hey, you're going to have to interact with this person. Tell me your thoughts. And usually it's challenging to get time on their calendar, because I'm sure you guys know how
doing things.
Exactly. But you spend that extra little bit of effort and it goes a long way.
Now, my question to you, though, is when you do bring in these diverse thoughts and viewpoints and types of people, right? And you got your D and your I and your S and your C all represented or whatever, right? Do they all have veto power? Because we see this as recruiters and we're like, we throw them in there and it's like American Ninja Warrior and they got to do all these different obstacles. And maybe they're just really trying to beat this one obstacle, but all of a sudden these crazy boss types start flipping out of the, anyway.
When you have people that are falling in all these different quadrants, there is going to be conflict. That is inevitable. Yeah. And so what it takes is a strong leader that can cast a vision that everybody can get behind and has the ability to turn that conflict into productive conflict. I hear what you're saying, but we've got a pretty valid point over here. Let's hear them out and talk through this together. And that's just communication skills, leadership skills. But again, not all hiring managers have those skills. And this is why I think it is so important that we continue to build and develop and invest in building strong leaders in organizations. Because I can throw a rock and hit 15 different companies that have a toxic workplace environment. And I firmly believe that these toxic workplace environments is just a result of undeveloped leaders. I don't think people wake up with the idea of, I'm going to come in and make my life horrible and my team's life horrible. They
Well,
just don't have the
Thursdays.
requisite skills to do things the right way.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying there. I once had someone who said, "Don't ask my opinion if you're not going to use it." And I'm like, well, listen, I collect opinions like Pokemon. I don't always fight them all, but I collect them all, right?
That person's me, and the statement is almost correct. It was one of my pet peeves is don't ask me my opinion if you're clearly not going to take it into consideration.
So I need to
Like just asking
obfuscate
people,
my
like
intentions.
when anyone or your boss or whoever it is ask you, like, what are your thoughts, when you know they've already made up their mind? Like they're clearly, they don't care. They're not listening. So don't
Well,
ask.
I think it's a sanity check. But then the other
Thank
piece I think is
I
important.
think I'm sane, but I need a second opinion.
I think it's important. It is crucial to solicit feedback from the people in your team and in the business. It's not required for you to act on the things that they say, but also we need to make sure that if we don't go in the direction that the person on the team recommended, that we can help them understand why. You know what, this is a valid point, but we've got all of this other pressure. We've got these things that are going on. And so this is a valid point, but for right now, we have to do this thing because of all of these other factors. And usually that resonates well because the person on the team doesn't always have visibility into all these other things that are going on. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful opportunity to raise awareness and help them have a more holistic understanding.
I like that.
I like that too. Shaped that very well.
Yeah, you really did thread the needle on that one. That was nice.
He's like our therapist.
Yeah, I appreciate this little therapy session. Get in the comments, y'all. Let us know what you think. Are we crazy? We're asking your opinion. We may not use it, but I will let you know why. Put it in the comments. Caroline says you need both and doers. Scott Williamson, diversity of thought is crucial for growth, but the culture must also be open to the type of collaboration for new solutions or process changes. Multi-generational and job title inputs are key.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually systems, and whenever I say systems, a company, all of the people, applications, processes, if we view that as one system, the more mature it gets, the more rigid it becomes. And we see this with large, big organizations. They become processed to death. And so
Yeah.
when you bring somebody new in with fresh ideas that are more progressive and lean into different ideals of thought, there's a resistance that naturally occurs because the system itself is trying to protect itself. And so usually smaller organizations are more open to new ideas just because they haven't had so many years or decades of solidifying these processes and systems themselves.
That explains so many mature organizations that I've seen that are operationally excellent, but have no entrepreneurial ability whatsoever. They're not nimble. They are change averse. They are really good at doing this thing, and that thing does great, and it's good business and everything. But gosh, you try to put a different vertical in or a different product or a different whatever in, and it just blows up. The most operationally excellent can become the most inept immediately.
I have been fortunate or not to go through 48 acquisitions and integrations.
Holy crap.
And I see this time and time again. Organizations grow in scale, which you create standard operating procedures, you leverage economies of scale, but then you're no longer nimble. So they go acquire a smaller, more nimble organization. These guys are doing this stuff so well. Let's incorporate them and integrate them and force them to do the same stuff that we're doing. And so you acquire them, sometimes spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and then you just crush that entrepreneurial spirit that you actually spent all that money to acquire. It is the wildest thing to
So
watch
backwards.
unfold.
Well, and the way you explain it makes it seem so obvious,
Mhm.
but I know the conversations that are being had in the room, and the irony in acquisitions is both parties think they're smarter than the other side of a merger or an acquisition. One wouldn't be selling it if they didn't think they were getting out good, and one wouldn't be buying it if they didn't think they could operate it better than the people that were running it before.
That's
And
it.
one of them's going to be right. And
Yeah.
it's always fun to sit back with your popcorn and find out who that is. Mel says candidates that are naturally more introverted and won't be the loudest person in the room, but don't mistake that for a lack of confidence or ability. They are thoughtful, intelligent, and extremely capable to do the job.
Yeah. No, this actually great comment, Mel, because I get curious. I'm an introvert myself, and I struggle with sharing my accomplishments, I guess, or like really talking about them in detail because it feels like bragging. How do introverts work through that?
I think this comes down to a confidence thing. Now, I'm going to do my best to kind of weave this all together. You're absolutely, Mel, you're absolutely right that the introverts that are so focused on doing the thing, they are confident, they are competent in the domain that they spend so many years working in. And so if you envision this confidence bar just goes higher and higher and higher. And then you start thinking about, well, they're not as confident whenever it comes to communicating and effectively articulating their value. But you were confident because you spent so many years over here in this domain. You're not confident because you haven't spent that many years communicating your value. So when you step into it, and it's just baby steps at first, you step into it and you start testing the waters of how can I share my wins? How can I highlight the value that I've brought to the organization? Then people will start to recognize it, and then it becomes self-reinforcing, and you gradually build your confidence over time more and more, where you feel comfortable sharing the wins and articulating your value. And because you are wired in this way, I am supremely confident you are never going to come across as, oh, I'm Jillian, look at me, look at all the things I'm doing, because you're just not wired that way. But you do have to step into it. And the more you do, the more comfortable you get and the more confident you will become in doing it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's spot on. It's the podcast. I was so nervous and did not want to do it at all in the beginning. But with reps, now it's like, okay, it's Wednesday. I got to do a pod. I sit down.
That's
Get
how it
used
worked
to it.
whenever I started my podcast 5 years ago. I was getting into leadership, and a different mentor of mine, I was having a conversation with him at the gym and said, hey, I've got this idea. I really want to start sharing my message and helping inspire and educate other leaders. He's like, yeah, start a YouTube channel. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
what?
That's not what I mean.
No, I don't want to do it that way. And he's like,
Yeah.
come on. And so I went back, thought about it, processed. And the next time I saw him in the gym, I was like, okay, I'm going to release an episode every 2 weeks. And he just looked at me and said, really? You're going to change the world through leadership once every other week? And so that was 5.5 years ago. I made a commitment every single week. I've dropped a new full-length episode every single
That's
week
awesome.
without fail. Rain, snow, sickness, it didn't matter. There was something that's dropped, and I just got better at it.
Mhm.
So you needed that person to really push you. It sounds like, so this is kind of interesting because we don't want to be pushy and we don't want to, create unsafe spaces for people, right? And we want to respect people's like, hey, that's not the way I'm wired. But then sometimes I'm like, I want to push people. And it's like, how do I balance that as a leader, pushing people to the point where, they're uncomfortable, but like what's healthy, what's not healthy?
Are you guys familiar with I think it's called the Pygmalion effect? Have you ever heard of this?
No, but let's go.
No.
And so
Yeah,
basically
just by name, I'm like,
Yeah. So basically, what this states is that when somebody has a desire to do something, but they're not confident, they're not quite sure if they can do it, that somebody else, whether it's a mentor or somebody above them or more experienced, can show them just a little bit of inspiration and let them know you've got this. I've got you. You can absolutely do this. And all that does is give them the spark. Now they have to fan the flame and turn it into something beyond just a spark, but it is so incredibly powerful. And sometimes, depending on the person, it's a you've got this. I'm not sure you can do it, but I think you've got it. So just that little nudge of, I'm not sure this person can do it. And then Jillian's like, oh, watch. I'm going to build these lungs up. I'm going to go be this trumpet player type of a thing. But you have to be, as the mentor in this instance, you have to know what that person needs and give them just enough to light that fire.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's just think about that for a little bit.
But as a leader, you would have to really know your employee, or like you can't be a behind the desk or behind the keyboard type of leader.
Yeah, you have to have a relationship
Correct.
and you have to have trust on both sides, and you have to believe
Yep.
that this person has your best interest at heart. And it's, yeah. Hey,
Yep.
Mel's got a question. Sean, can you spell that method, please?
Yep. I'm going to drop it in the chat real quick.
Use it in a
here.
sentence. Country of origin, please. Yeah, I'll be in the Scripps Howard spelling bee. Awesome.
I think I spelled that right.
Nice.
Here we go. The
I've never
Pygmalion
seen
effect is the psychological phenomenon where higher expectations lead to improved performance, while lower expectations can hinder it. So I was kind of dancing around it.
No, I
but
like that a lot.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes I think I suffer from too low expectations. Right, Jill?
No.
You always tell me that. Anyway, hey, do we have some love it or leave it's going here? Hey, you want to play a game with us, Sean?
I love games.
Yeah, right. Little categories. No, we're gonna play love it or leave it.
All right.
Yeah. So
Let's do it.
Jill, you want to explain how this game goes?
Yeah. We're going to throw a topic out there. You choose whether you love it or you leave it.
Okay.
Gosh, incredible. All right, let's do it. Love it or leave it. First topic. Boomerang employees.
Leave it.
I said,
Yeah.
I don't want to see you again.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yeah.
not eligible for rehire.
No. Like, and
Part
here's
of
the thing.
me love
The-
it.
Part of you loves it?
The reason
Okay.
for that is in a previous life, I actually tracked metrics on how many times these employees would boomerang. We had people that would come back 3 and 4 times.
Dang.
It was just like they'd bounce for a quarter an hour, seriously, and then come back and then back and forth and back and forth. And you guys know the administrative burden that puts on the entire
Yeah.
organization for people to boomerang back and forth. And I tried to say, no, we're not doing that anymore. But, ops managers, they're going to do their thing.
Well, they're going to do their things because they're plug and play. You
Yeah.
don't have to retrain them. They
Yep.
probably didn't fix the process issue that made the person left in the first place. So now someone can actually understand how to do the job.
Yep.
I get why people do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, someone who's boomeranged 3 or 4 times, I don't know.
Mhm.
But if it was someone who worked for your company for a while and then they left saying they wanted a growth opportunity, they were gone for a few years, they wanted to come back, I'd think about it because I'd be like, well, whatever you
That's
learned
fair.
over there, you better come apply it over here.
There you go. That's fair. Exceptions can be made.
Yeah.
I think that's the amount of time that they were gone is really interesting. Like, were they gone 10 years? Like, we do this in recruiting. We find people who worked somewhere 10 years ago, and we're like, oh, can we even submit this person? Because they're going to look at us like we're crazy. Like, oh, they worked here in 2016, which doesn't sound like that crazy
No.
long ago, but it is. But oh, by the way, all the hiring managers are different. The CEO's different. It's owned by a different PE firm. Like, it's like, is it even the same company? So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
boomerang
point, too.
employees. I don't know. I'm not going to totally leave it, but it's very exceptions based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Overrated? No, a different show. Love it or leave it. Career cushioning.
Tell me
What
more.
does this mean?
Okay,
Yeah,
I was
what
going
does
to
this
say
mean?
there, I think
Interpret.
I
there was
think
like
I know, but I want to
parentheses
make
with
sure.
it. So it's basically like looking for a job while you have a job, like
Oh,
looking out for your future before you really need
future?
to,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Oh man. So is the love it or leave it from the employer side or from the employee side?
Take it how you want to take it.
Oh man.
Diverse perspectives.
I say love it. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for ourselves. And if the company and the employee are aligned, that's amazing. But sometimes there's not an alignment. There's a drift that occurs one way or the other. Now, what I am not an advocate of is somebody cushioning for years on end. Just make a decision. Which
Yeah.
way you're going to go. But people, they like the comfort of the stable salary and they're a little afraid of change. And so then they just kind of half-ass everything. And that's definitely not cool.
I think that's my challenge with it is like you're not really focused on the job if you have one eye over there. Kind of it's like when you're having a conversation at a conference or a bar, and you're like, and everybody that walks in, you're kind of like taking a look at, and you're just not all in.
Yeah,
but you got to look. I mean, as recruiters, Jill,
I'm obviously a love it.
You're a love it.
Well, I'm also thinking of it more so from like a candidate or a personal perspective. Like Sean's right. You at the end of the day, you got to look out for yourself. And like my dad always told me, if you're comfortable, you're not in the right place. Like as soon as you start to feel comfortable, you need to start looking elsewhere because like your growth could be so tremendous and so fast if you're constantly doing that. Like, oh no, now I'm realizing I'm comfortable. On to the next.
Yeah. That's why I gave you a standing desk, Jill.
Stop.
So you never leave.
But yeah, I think it's important to always keep your eyes peeled and just
well, you don't want to look for a
stay
job when you
open-minded.
don't have a job. You want to look for one when you do.
That
So,
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's keep it moving here.
Okay.
Love it or leave it. Meeting after the meeting.
Oh, leave it. Jeez. Come on. Let's get it all done.
Meetings.
Let's just get back to work.
I'm going to wear a CEO hat here and say, I love it. But you know what's better than meeting after the meeting? The meeting before the meeting. Okay. And I'm only half joking. No, I think the meeting before the meeting is the most important meeting, actually, because you can get everybody's buy-in one-on-one, and then you get in the room and you just say, yeah, we already talked about that. Everyone agrees. All right, cool. Boom, done.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know what a meeting after the meeting is.
100%. I agree with you on the meeting before the meeting. You can create so much alignment if you do the extra work and meet with Joe and Jason and Chris and Sally beforehand. Create that alignment. We all come together. You good? You good? You good? Cool. Rock and roll. Let's make it happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer the pre-meeting meeting versus the post. Well, because also with post meeting, if it was a good meeting, everyone's on the same page. They know what their action items are. Like as soon as the meeting ends, a lot of the time it's, I just want to go. I want to do. I don't want to pause to then talk about it again and to just reiterate, yeah, I'm going to do this. That was great. You're going to do that. Cool. We're good.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather just get going.
All right. We got another one, Sharina. All right. 2 more. Love it or leave it. Taking a counter offer from your existing employer, I imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
As the employee, I say leave it. I mean, I would, if they didn't see your value beforehand, then nothing's really going to change. Whatever drove you to make a decision to go somewhere else, the business itself isn't going to change, or it's highly unlikely that it's going to change. You're going to make a little bit more money, sure, but is money the most important thing in life? When you get to a certain point, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As an employer, I'm kind of anti counter offers in general too, because for the same reason, that person's over here cushioning
Yeah.
And they'll just
Nice
be cushioning.
tie-in.
Yeah, they'll be cushioning next quarter too.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm the
this is
same.
also frustrating from a recruiting standpoint when you like get the marriage, you together and it's ready, and it's at the altar, and then
Yeah.
somebody in the back row stands up. Hey, actually, how about 10 grand more?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
"Why
The
are we
ex
doing
shows
this?"
up and wrecks the wedding.
Yeah, exactly. The ex, yeah, like, get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, that's hilarious. Mary says, if you're comfortable, do you look elsewhere or ask to be challenged where you are?
Ooh, I love that.
You've got to
Jill?
ask to be challenged. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we have to look out for ourselves. And yes, there's going to be leaders that you have throughout your career and life that are probably, hopefully, going to offer up opportunities. But at the end of the day, I've found I am more inclined to offer opportunities to those who step up and say, I want to do more. I want to learn more things. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here you go, type of a thing. Because
Yeah.
as a manager, you get burned by saying, oh, I see all this potential over here in Jason. I'm going to give Jason
Yeah.
all this stuff. And if Jason doesn't care, it's wasted energy on my part. So
You're
as
so
we
right.
want to ascend, we have to be willing to have the uncomfortable conversation and go up and say, I would love an opportunity to do something bigger, to do something more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And not only say I would like an opportunity, but say I see an opportunity to do this and add value. And you're coming with a solution to a problem, not just like, hey, I want more to do, or I'm bored, or I need more
Yeah.
money. And therefore,
Yeah.
let's justify the money I think I need by additional responsibilities that I may not have the bandwidth for, or the qualifications for. So, I think that's really, really smart. And something you said really struck me, Sean, because I was just having this conversation last week in New York with a friend of mine. It was like, just because we want something for someone else or we see it for them doesn't mean they want it or see it for themselves. And I've gotten so frustrated in my life by trying to force aspiration on other people that they just don't have it. They just don't want it. And then I get mad. My wife's like, why are you mad at them? They didn't ask for this. I'm like, yeah, but they should have.
I think that when we see potential in other people, it's simply what we would do if we were in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And your wife's absolutely right. It's not fair to them for us to impose the potential that we see.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to look out for themselves. And it's disheartening and demoralizing when you see somebody who has limitless potential because of skills or traits that they have, but they just don't do anything with it. It sucks, but like we'll crush ourselves trying to help them when they don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
Great point. Great point. Scott says, so funny, Ben. Pre-meeting, meeting, and post-meeting, two of them have to go. But drinks after the post-meeting makes a lot of sense. So if we
There
just
you
get
go.
to the drinks, meeting
Yeah.
and drinks, it sounds like a Scott's case.
Yeah, but drinks are still a post meeting.
Oh, Jill's trying to get out of all of it. She's like,
All
don't
of it.
I need to go to drinks?
it
I'm
done.
like,
Don't get
I
me to
can
to
go without the
post-mo-"
drinks. I can go without the post meeting. I know if we're having
You better
drinks,
watch out. You may
it's
not even get to go to the
basically a
meeting.
post-meeting. Just
You may
while
not even
sipping
get in the
drinks.
room. Oh my goodness. We got people checking in. What's up, y'all? Let's do one more here, huh? Last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personality test. Love it or leave it.
Oh, I love it. That was the biggest unlock for me in my life, going from not understanding myself and understanding other people to having a tool that allowed me to, one, better understand myself, but also better understand all of the people on my team. We have to understand that these personality tests, they are not absolute. They are simply a tool that we can use as a guide to learn how to better connect with the people on our team and better lead them and see results.
I got to ask you, Sean, top 3 personality tests in your opinion? Because there's so many and there's a lot of
ton.
noise in the marketplace. What are your top 3?
Oh man, this is recorded too. Okay. I I use DISC a lot, and most people think DISC is, well, that's basic, that's foundational. And yes, there are higher levels, especially when it comes to executives. They'll lean into Berkman and other things like that. But what I have discovered in working with manager all the way to CEOs, when you introduce something like DISC, it's usually completely foreign to them. And I love DISC because beyond understanding yourself, you can do a culture map and see everybody on your team and where every single person falls. And this was an eye-opening experience for me at first, because whenever I started leading HR, I had one C on the team, the payroll manager, attention to detail. That checks out. And then I had 18 I's in the team. And so whenever you start looking at the disbursement of these behavioral styles across your team, it gives you insight into challenges that you might not initially pick up on. So if you have a team full of extroverts that don't care about attention to detail, do you think the payroll manager is going to have a good day? No.
No.
Social securities are going to be wrong. Addresses are going to be wrong. Bank accounts are going to be wrong, because the eyes are just, where's the pizza party? Let's have some cookies.
Yeah.
So it gives you insight into broader dynamics for the organization. And yes, it is foundational, but in my experience, you'd be shocked to see how many VP and C-level executives, this is not even part of their schema. They have no clue.
Well, there's a reason things are foundational, right? Because they're important.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say I didn't like personality test
Why?
until I just was like, I don't think these are that accurate. And like, they make me judge a person before I actually get to know them, which I don't really like either. Which I try not to. I really try, but my brain
But
automatically.
you'll take the Harry Potter hat sorting test.
Yeah, of course.
Be like Hufflepuff for life.
Which, shout out Hufflepuff. Daisy's a Hufflepuff. We just
Daisy's
discovered
a-
that
See
like
what
2
I'm
weeks
talking
ago.
about, Sean?
I made Daisy take the test.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, but when we did the Clifton Strengths for our team here at Glomo, I actually loved it because it was the first time I felt like it was really, truly accurate to me. And so I was like, okay, if this is spot on, then I can buy into these because now I can know that they're actually accurate for other people too. And similarly to what you were just saying, we've done that in the past where we put up everyone's 5 top strengths or whatever, and we like see where we're lacking in certain areas and where we're really strong in others or whatever. And that was just really cool and interesting to see big picture, the whole team. And it felt really accurate to everyone because we all work together. I know everyone.
Yeah, we got to do those again. The one that I like that I'm actually mad at them, but it's Cultural Index.
Yeah.
I think the insights are really great, although you need like a PhD to decipher them and understand how to apply them. And they won't work with consulting firms or with recruiting firms. But other than all those things, I actually really enjoyed the insights of those. So yeah, maybe we need to get more into to this. Maybe we got to definitely run through the Clifton Strengths again because we got some new team members.
We do.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that's important whenever you start looking at these behavioral assessments, sometimes they get a bad rap. Yes, culture index is extremely complex. You have to spend an inordinate amount of time wrapping your head around it. But also, I think it's important that whenever you take these assessments or have the people on your team take these assessments, that it's not just, oh, take this assessment, here's your report, have a good day. That you have somebody that can actually sit down with the group and help them wrap their head around it, maybe do some activities, help them truly understand what their report means, as opposed to just read through it. Yep, that's me. Cool. And then go about their day. You have to have somebody that can guide you and shepherd you through how do you use this information now that you know more about yourself and know more about the people on your team. That is a miss that I think a lot of organizations struggle with because they do the assessment and then cool, you're good. We've checked the box instead of actually spending a little bit of time to make sure people can wrap their head around it and fully understand.
I think that's really valid, especially even with like the Clifton Strengths and stuff. It'll be like, you're a, what was your top strength, Jill?
I think it was Achiever.
Achiever.
Or strategic? I don't know.
Well, and like achiever, I think I know what that means, but when I read the breakdown of it and then I read how it applies or interacts with other types of people, like it's actually not so intuitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good counsel there. Sean, this has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
I have too.
Sean, if people want to get in touch with you or follow you or hire you or whatever, what can they do?
They can just go to wolfexecutives.com or seanbarnes.com. Either one of those sites will give you a little bit of insight into the things that we're doing. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm a straight up nerd on LinkedIn. So just LinkedIn/Sean Barnes. You can find me there.
Awesome. Sean, thanks so much for the time. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Good.
And thanks everybody that got involved in the comments as well. Love y'all. Get in there and hit that like button. Let Sean know how he did. I think he killed it, but give us the feedback. We appreciate it.
Fingers crossed.
And Sean, can't wait to connect with you in real life when we're not behind keyboards.
Yeah, we'll make it
Absolutely.
happen. All right.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.